Hello, friends. I hope you guys are all fine and doing good. So, yesterday we uploaded a video about different concepts of political science, in which we talked about the meaning of political science and about the definitions of political science. We also discussed about the difference between politics and political science. So, today we are going to talk about other concepts of political science, especially the nature of political science. So, yeah, let's start. So, nature of political science. See, political science is actually a part of social science, and therefore it's different from other physical sciences like physics and chemistry. So, we can say that political science is not a natural science, it's just a part of social science. Okay. So the question which concerns the nature of the subject is whether political science is a science or an art. So this is the main question when we talk about the nature of political science. The main question is whether political science is a science or it's an art. However, the nature of political science with time it has changed. With time, the nature of political science has changed. I mean. During the 20th century or in the 21st century, we can see that the nature of political science has gone through a drastic and dramatic change. So, yeah, today we are going to talk about this whether political science is science or whether political science is an art. So, this is the nature of political science. Now, let's see what we have to see. Let's check what political science as an art is actually. So, science is a universal and systematic body of knowledge based on accurate facts rather, through which observation, comparison, experimentation can be made. Yesterday, also in the previous video, we talked about science. We said that science is actually the systematic study of structure and behavior of any natural or physical world. In which observation, experimentation, and evidence and comparison is made. So, science is actually a systematic body of knowledge which is based on accurate facts, and this systematic body of knowledge or this systematic is study is done through observation, comparison, experimentation, etc. So apparently political science does not make some of these features. So we can say that some of these features which are supposed to be in science, for example, in science we say there has to be some sort of observation, there has to be some sort of experimentation, there needs to be some sort of evidence. Apparently these things are missing in some of these features are actually missing in political science. So we can say that political science is kind of is to be considered as an art, because there are some concepts where there is no accurate definition and there is a little bit of ambiguity in its nature. So if we see that there is a British political thinker Ernest Baker, and James Bryce is also a British political thinker, and Charles Brett is a historian. All of these political thinkers are reluctant. They don't accept political science as a science. They think that political science is an art. Why do they think that political science is an art? Because they think that there are some features in political science which are missing, which are supposed to be, if you are talking about some sort of science, there has to be some sort of observation or comparison or experimentation or evidence. But when we talk about political science, these features are missing. That's why Ernest Baker and James Bryce and Charles Brett think that political science is not a science. They are reluctant in accepting political science as a science. There are some arguments to the notion of political science as a science. Some of the arguments are as follows. For example, the first one is lack of precise and standard definition of the terms and concepts. So, political science being considered as an art, there are some arguments in it, and one of the argument is that there is a lack of precise and standard definitions. There are no definitions, there are no standard definitions given to some terms and some concepts. There is some sort of vagueness in these terms, in the definitions of these terms. So this is the first argument that says that political science is not a science, it's an art. Second argument is that there is a complexity of political phenomena due to variation in in nature and habits of people. So we can say that the nature and habit of people, there is a variation in it, there is a change in it, it can change, which ultimately affects the complexity of political phenomenon. The third argument is that there is diversity of environments in which political developments can take place. That means that different political developments take place in different environments. So it actually affects the political system of these environments. So in other words, we can say that the diversity of environments in which political developments take place actually leads to a little bit of, or some sort of vagueness, some sort of ambiguity, some sort of unclearness in the political activities of that place. So this argument also states that political science is an art rather than science. The other and the most important argument is that there are problems of experimentation, and when there are problems of experimentation, that means valid conclusions, the desired conclusions that are supposed to be come out, they are not possible, they don't arrive, those valid conclusions. It is difficult for us, or it is difficult for a political thinker to get those valid conclusions. Why? See, if you want to get some sort of conclusion, you need to go through the experimentation properly. And the problem is that if there are some problems in the experimentation, there are some issues in the experimentation, that means there will be a problem in the results as well. That means the desired results, the required results, the valid results that you were supposed to get, you won't be able to get those results. So this is the biggest argument that political science is an art, because there is a lack of experimentation, there are problems in experimentation, which ultimately leads to lack of valid conclusions. Okay, let's move forward. Political science as a science. We saw that why political science is considered as an art. Now we will see why political science is considered as science. See, American political thinkers like David Easton tried to establish a scientific basis of political science. So this point is very important. It was David Easton who first tried to establish the scientific basis of political science. Even though, long time ago Aristotle called political science as the master science through which civilization could be saved. So an argument to support political science as a science can also be taken into consideration when Aristotle said that political science is the master science. So he considered political science as a master science a long time ago. So there are some arguments to this notion as well. There are some arguments that political science is a science. We will see these arguments, what these arguments actually are. We say that recently political theory has developed based on facts and verifiable data. So we can say that when there is something is based on verifiable data, and when something is based on accurate facts, we say that this thing is science. So political theory has recently developed these facts and these verifiable data. So for example, voting behavior and theories of election. So voting behavior and theories of election are actually verifiable, and these are based on some valid facts. So this is an argument which supports that political science is a science. Another argument which supports political science as science are political experiments are not completely ruled out. See, there are actually political experiments are not completely ruled out, means that there are some sort of political experiments in political science. For example, people voting for somebody or for some sort of candidate, and that candidate winning, and that candidate helping those people and trying to fulfill the things that he had said while campaigning and doing other things. So political experiments are not completely ruled out. That means there are some sort of experiments in political science, and we cannot completely rule them out. The last argument, or the other argument which supports political science as a science, is that government itself is a continuous experiment. See, the making of government, the collapsing of government, the process in which a government comes into power, the process in which a government is dissolved, the political participation of people, all these things are actually an experiment. So we cannot say that there is no experimentation in political science. Even there are some sort of political experiments, there are some sort of experiments in political activities. That's why we say that this argument is an important argument which supports political science as a science, because government, we say that government in itself, it's actually an experiment. Why? Because people go out, they think that this person will help them, and this person or this candidate will solve their problems, whatever they are voting for, whatever his or her election manifesto is. So this thing is actually an experiment in itself. So we can say that these arguments, they actually support political science as a science. There are other arguments as well. We say that it's possible to make predictions on the basis of social experimentations to a certain extent. See, now an important concept in science is that to make predictions. If you are able to make predictions, then that phenomena is called science. So in political science, we can make some sort of predictions on the basis of social experimentations. Yeah, well, we can do it to a certain extent. Okay. Another important point is broad conclusions can be drawn in political science. See, broad conclusions can be drawn in political science, such as an independent and impartial judiciary and a free press are essential for democracy. So we are saying that in order to in order to see a country, in order to see democracy going in a smooth way in a country, we have to see whether in that country there is an independent and impartial judiciary, whether in that country there is free press. If these things are there, then we can say that this country is a democratic country and democracy is prevailing in that country. So broad conclusions can actually be drawn in political science. We cannot completely rule out that there are no conclusions in political science, as we said when we were talking about political science as an art. Now, other point is that empirical studies are based on careful observations and classifications. We say that political science being a science, there are some sort of empirical studies, there are some sort of scientific studies which are completely based on observation and classification. So we cannot say that in political science there are no observations and there are no classifications. Political science puts a hypothesis or an assumption to empirical verification. So political science is actually putting some sort of assumption to scientific verification. When there is scientific verification, when there is empirical verification, when there is some sort of hypothesis and assumption, that means we can say that this thing is science. And the other point is that theories are not exactly based on speculation. I mean, political scientists today employ survey methods, graphs, charts, other scientific tools to arrive at their research conclusion. So we cannot say that there is only theory in political science. There are some other survey methods as well. There are some other research methods as well, like making of graphs, charts, other scientific tools. And by doing all these methods, by using all these methods, we can come to some sort of research conclusions, which ultimately proves that political science is a science. So these were the arguments that support that political science is science. Now there is another narrative, which is that political science has both art as well as science. There are some political thinkers who support this narrative. They say that political science is both. It's an art as well as it's a science. There is a narrative which says that political science is a science because, look, we can say that political science is a science, but it is not exactly like physical sciences. We can say that, look, political science is a science, but it's not like chemistry, it's not like biology, it's not like physics, it's not like nano other things, it's not like physical chemistry, it's not like organic chemistry. So we can say that it's a science, but it's not exactly like physical sciences. An important American political scientist, Robert Dahl, he actually states that political science is both science and art. So he was the first person, Robert Dahl was the first person who actually said that political science is both. It's a science as well as it's an art. Here he says that art refers to practical application of knowledge. Political science applies the knowledge about political events for creating a good social and political order. Hence, it's an art. So this is the explanation why it's an art, because political science actually applies the knowledge of political events in order to create a good social and political order. That's why we say it's an art. And when students of political science test their theories, for example, I'm a student of political science, you are a student of political science, you test your theories against the data of experience by observation, that political analysis can be regarded as scientific. So if you are a political science student and you are using your theories and you are using the data for observation, for experimentation, and you are using it as an evidence, that means that this analysis, the analysis that you have done, the political analysis that you have done, it can be regarded as scientific. And when something can be regarded as scientific, that means that phenomena is actually science, or that phenomena is actually scientific. So this argument also supports that political science is a science. So the above arguments supported that political science is an art. The below argument supports that political science is a science. Thus we can say that political science is both. It's an art as well as it's a science. So when this political analysis is applied for a working of political institution, it becomes art. See, now we said that political science students can do some sort of experiments. They can use these theories against that data, and they can apply these theories to some sort of observation, or some sort of experimentation, or some sort of evidence and whatever. And by applying these theories to some this data, they are actually doing a political analysis. And by doing this political analysis, when they do it in a scientific way, when they use experimentation, observation and evidence, all these methods, that means this political analysis has to be considered as a scientific political analysis. And when this political analysis is applied to the working of a political institution, it becomes an art. So actually political science has both things in it. It has the art thing in it as well as it has the science thing. So actually it's actually a social science, or in other words we can say that political science is both, it's science as well as it's an art. In the with the change of time, with the coming time, in the modern times, the dynamics of political science, the changing dynamics of political science has actually taken a different path. There has been a change in the meaning and nature of political science. After the World War II came to an end, the meaning and nature of political science has gone through a drastic change. Now political science is closely related to all aspects of social relations, rather than an activity centered on the institutions of government. So the concept that political science was mainly focused on state and government has completely changed after the World War. If you look at the previous video that we uploaded yesterday, we said that if you look at the traditional definitions of political science, we said that the traditional definitions of political science mainly focused on the state, on the smooth functioning of state and government. That concept has totally changed after the World War. Now the nature of political science and the meaning of political science has completely changed. So the aims and objectives of political science have changed as well, and they have changed due to the factors such as the rise in power theory and behaviorism. So when power theory came into existence and behaviorism came into existence, the nature and meaning of political science actually went through different changes. New understanding of political science has ceased to be merely the science of statecraft. Political science is concerned with all the facets of power relations and human behavior having political implications in the society. Politics is portrayed as the process of conflict resolution in which rivalry views or competing interests are reconciled for the benefit of all. The new meaning of political science includes the dynamics of power and struggle at various levels, which can be local, regional, national, and international. So we can see here that the concept or the meaning of or the understanding of power has changed. It has now become a different thing. It has now become power politics. In international relations, it's also considered as power politics. So the aim and objective of political science have actually changed due to factors such as the rise of power theory and behaviorism, which we already said. So this was all about the nature of political science, why political science is considered as an art, why political science is considered as a science, and why there are some political thinkers who support other narrative who say that political science is both, it's a science as well as it's an art, and how the understanding how the nature and how the meaning has changed, how the meaning and nature of political science has changed with time. So this was all about today's presentation. I hope to see you next time. Take care. Have a good day.